the first constituency to have a woman MP, Nancy Astor, and now the first woman Prime Minister. Lady Margaret Thatcher is taking to the stage to offer her views on Europe and indeed, no doubt, lots of other issues. Let's hear her applause.
Chairman Francis, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for that wonderful welcome. It augurs well for the result. It's very good to be here this evening, campaigning for a Conservative victory in the enterprising port of Plymouth. Actually, I was told beforehand that my arrival was unscheduled, but on my way here, I passed a local cinema, and it turns out that you were expecting me after all, for the billboards read, "The Mummy Returns." It's good to be back. Dennis also has a high regard for this fine city. In fact, so fondly does he recall it, that he always ensures our cocktail cabinet is well stocked up with Plymouth gin. Dennis isn't here with me tonight, but he's certainly here in spirit. My friends, every general election tests character as well as policies, and this one is no exception. But our party is fortunate indeed. Under William Hague's cool and gritty leadership, we have the right man with the right message. My friends, it's more than a decade since I was in the front line of politics, and I miss it a bit. That's why I'm back now. One thing hasn't changed, and I trust will never change. Ours is a party that knows what it stands for, is proud of its beliefs, and is in tune with the deepest instincts of the British people. We Conservatives changed Britain for the better, and we helped to change the world, bringing liberty to millions who'd never have known it. Moreover, let's admit it, we've changed our opponents, at least on the surface, and so made them electable, and that's tough. But we didn't, and we couldn't, make them believers in liberty or champions of enterprise. New Labour's main appeal, when you get down to it, is quite simply that it's not old Labour. And that's true as far as it goes. I had some respect for the old Labour Party, which stood for certain principles, wrong as they were. But today's Labour Party has no discernible principles at all. It is rootless, empty, and artificial. And when anything real or human surfaces despite the spin, it's the bitter, brawling bully that we hoped we'd seen the last of 20 years ago. Labour's election slogan, "Ambitions for Britain," is, of course, half right. They are ambitious, but not, I'm afraid, for Britain. They're certainly ambitious to extend the power of the state. That's why year after year they have piled on taxes by stealth. The British people are paying £1 billion a week of extra tax for the privilege of keeping Messrs. Blair and Brown in Downing Street. What an incentive to evict them. Labour are also ambitious to draw more and more people into dependency, diminishing liberty, throttling choice. That's why the Chancellor took away mortgage tax relief. I insisted on having relief for mortgages because we want every person, every householder to become an owner. They've taken away the relief. They've taken away the relief on tax for marriage. They've taken away the relief for private health insurance. That's why he took £5 billion a year from those who put money into private pension schemes. We, in fact, had private pension schemes very well able to get tax relief. And that's why he plans to make more and more elderly people subject to the means test. He just can't stand people being independent. Notice he'll say he didn't take down the top rate of tax. No, he took away the tax, he increased the tax by stealth, by steadily taking away the reliefs from which most of us benefited if we wish to hire our own, if we wish to buy our own houses, or in fact to look after our own health. Above all, our new Labour masters have to strut the international stage. They love to strut the international stage. It's a great deal pleasanter than facing the wrath of outraged farmers, desperate hospital patients, or demoralized policemen. Mr. Blair says he wants to lead in Europe, but the price of that is that he's expected to lead Britain by the nose into the single currency, and he's prepared to do it. I would never be prepared to give up our own currency. The greatest issue in this election, indeed the greatest issue before our country, is whether Britain is to remain a free, independent nation-state, or whether we are to be dissolved in a federal Europe. There are no half measures, there are no third ways, and there are no second choices. My friends, too many powers have already passed from our Parliament to the bureaucracy in Brussels. We must get them back, and above all, we must keep the pound. Keeping our currency is not, as Labour would have it, just a matter of economics. Though the economic case grows weaker as the euro grows sicker by the day. Now, a country which loses the power to issue its own currency is a country which has given up the power to govern itself. Such a country would no longer be free, and it would no longer be truly democratic, for its people could no longer determine their own future in national elections. My friends, to surrender the pound, to surrender our power to self-government, would betray all that past generations down the ages lived and died to defend. It would also be to turn our back on America, leader of the English-speaking peoples of the world, to whom Europe, let's remember, also owes its freedom. That is not our way, and where better to take a stand than here in Plymouth. Plymouth, England's historic opening to the world. Plymouth, from where Francis Drake, Walter Raleigh, and Captain Cook set out to take the ways of these islands to the uttermost bounds of the earth. Plymouth, from where the Pilgrim Fathers left in that cockle-shell vessel on a voyage which would create the most powerful force for freedom that the world has ever known, the United States of America. My friends, New Labour, in its shriveled heart, is embarrassed by our history, scornful of our achievement, oblivious of our legacy. They think that they can remove Britain's sovereignty, just as they put up Britain's taxes by stealth. They are wrong, but they are too arrogant and too remote to know it. So, my friends, a mighty burden rests on us. We have 16 days to shift opinion and to shake this rotten government to the core. That is our task. Let's go about it now. Thank you very much.
Standing ovation, of course, for Lady Thatcher. She pointed out some 10 years since she was at the very heart, the cut and thrust of day-to-day politics, and she misses it somewhat. She said that it had meant to be an impromptu event today, her turning up to rally the party faithful, but when she arrived, the sign at the local cinema across the road meant that they knew she was coming, the movie showing Mummy Returns. She said the New Labour had no discernible principles, they were ruthless, they were empty, and they were artificial. She also offered her views on the pound and Europe and said that she was along to offer her support to hopefully the next Prime Minister, William Hague, who we will be hearing from very shortly. The gathered masses in the hall still standing to applaud the former Prime Minister, Baroness Thatcher. That's what's happening in Plymouth. Let's go to Wimbledon very briefly.